All right. So with sustainability, again, I just want to run through some kind of general thoughts or notes. I do find this sometimes to be one of the more challenging sections of a grant to write. How exactly are you going to continue a complicated, involved project after funding ends? That can be kind of a difficult prospect. But one of the things I would suggest thinking about is not maintaining necessarily the project after the funding ends, but the impact, or somehow allowing the impact to continue happening after the project ends. And just some quick thoughts on this, or ways that can happen. I also wanted to mention in my last video, I mentioned IRB, and I might not have explained that very well. That's the Institutional Review Board. So Ball State, as an example, has an IRB office, and you would contact them, and they would help work you through the process of where you would submit a proposal for IRB status, and then you either get approved, or they help you adjust your research protocol so that it would comply with ethical standards. With that, one of the ideas for sustainability is always, sharing the results or information that comes from your project with others through publications, conference proposals, those kinds of things. And of course, one of the additional things that IRB does is, helps you then publish your results. So those are some ways of sort of continuing the impact of a project. Other things would be going for additional grants. Foundations, a lot of times, are happy to have you apply for larger grants and larger federal grants. And to give you an example of this, I worked with a group sort of helping introduce people and organize some of the initial meetings, but some professors in nutrition science are doing a really interesting study with local middle schools in Muncie around activity and physical activity and the academic impact of healthy activity. So they eventually want to get a large Department of Agriculture grant that would expand this project. But they started off with a $30,000 grant to basically collect the data and the research that they would need to then go for a larger federal grant. So that's completely appropriate to use the grant to eventually apply for more grants. Some other things you can do are, if you're putting resources together, setting up a website. I know that sometimes that, requires money and information, but there are some free sites and free services, things like social media, other ways that you can sort of publicize the impact of the project and share your ideas with others. And then through fundraising, other advocacy groups, or sharing the information. Another good one would be that's really helpful sometimes is legislation. If you collect data through your project that's relevant to a significant issue, whatever that may be, homelessness, domestic violence, any of those things, you can share it with lawmakers and other groups, in the state, city councilmen, those types of people who might be able to have an impact in terms of changing policy. So if you have a great project that shows a positive impact and you can share that with policymakers or others, that can be really helpful. So again, overall, I would just think of sustainability in terms of like how the impact of your project is going to continue, or won't just cease the moment the funding stops. There's a number of different ways to do that, but just thinking through that is helpful. So I hope this helps.